I worked remotely in tech for 5 years and was able to leave it without have anything lined up. If you're here, you're probably unhappy and looking for ways to escape the misery that is the soul sucking 9 to 5. But you may be curious about the repercussions and are looking to see how others have been able to do it successfully. I get it. I got you. I have also been down the YouTube rabbit hole, and now I get to contribute to that rabbit hole by talking about my experience leaving a corporate tech job. Even without having something lined up, and I'm about 4 weeks into being unemployed, here's what I've learned that can hopefully be a bit of use to you. So, the first thing I would recommend you to do is to have an idea of where you want to go next. Although I didn't have anything specifically secured or a job lined up, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. If you haven't seen the video of where I talk about the steps that I took when I was trying to decide about changing careers, definitely check that out. But basically, what you want to do is weigh your options, see where your interests lie, and how you can tie those interests to your next venture. Whether it be doing the same job that you have now, just at a more interesting company, or completely switching jobs altogether. Another thing I recommend doing is having a backup plan or two. Life happens, nothing's guaranteed. So you may have your heart really set on one job or on one company, but it's always smart to have a contingency plan just in case that first plan falls through. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst, so to speak. So in my case, even though my primary goal is to go back to school starting in January, if that doesn't pan out, I am still financially secure enough to have up to 2 years time to figure it out. Or, maybe start in a later semester, which ties me to my next point. Before you up and quit your job, I highly recommend to run the numbers and make sure that it makes sense first. I personally think that this is something that not a lot of YouTube videos of people leaving their job talk about. While yes, I definitely think there's a lot of power in knowing yourself and being in tune with your worth, leaving things that no longer serve you, aka a shitty job, because who doesn't want out of that situation? Realistically, a girl's gotta eat, You still gotta be able to afford life to get you to that next step. And the best way for you to do this, to plan for this, is to make sure that you have the numbers to back up your primary plan, your secondary plan, and maybe even your tertiary plan. So for my example, I used ChatGPT and Google Sheets to calculate the numbers of my different options of whether I were to go back to school versus figuring it out for a couple of years instead. And I took into account what I thought that income would look like. I also took into account what I'd like to contribute to retirement accounts also during that time, and how much I'd be comfortable essentially taking out, living off of my savings, giving myself a salary or a mini retirement during this 2 year period time. Also taking into consideration other buckets of money that I could pull from, like emergency fund or like a small travel bucket for trips that could come up. Because I still wanted to be able to live during this time, And I don't want to get too much into the weeds of this because obviously I'm not a finance expert and this is not a finance channel, but let me know in the comments down below if you think a deep dive into that would be helpful, because I myself definitely wish that there was a resource out there when I was doing my YouTube research. So once you've ran the numbers and it made sense, pick a date and stick to it. Me personally, it was kind of hard to pick a date. I knew I wanted to leave during a certain month, and I just kind of let a last straw of something happening to me decide when I was going to put in my notice that day. But in order for you to protect your peace, try to plan and stick through to that plan. Because although you could wait around for a little while longer so that you could save up a little bit more and feel more secure, really, what is that extra money going to allow you to do once you've reached that point of being comfortable to figure it out for that time period? For me, I got to a point where I decided that it just wasn't worth my mental, emotional health anymore. I just kind of woke up one day and I was just like, today's the day. But if you don't want to let it get to that point, um, I definitely recommend picking a date and sticking with it. So once you have decided to quit, prepare yourself for the questions and opinions. I'm going to break this out to groups of people that you could deal with, and we'll start off with the people at work. So first, when you're putting in your notice, you get to decide how much notice you want to put in. Everyone knows that it's pretty customary for 2 weeks about to be the standard of how much you want to give your job notice when you're about to leave, so that you can plan a really nice handoff to whoever's going to take your place for the projects that you have after you leave. And though you don't want to, completely burn any bridges, just know that if that is not the best option for you, you are not obligated to stick around for 2 weeks. That whole period of time where I was just kind of waiting for me to be able to tell the people I'm working with, and then tell the people in the company for them to find out, and then finally telling my clients that I was leaving. It was just a very awkward time because I basically just had to continue business as usual. I felt very fake and ingenuine, more so than corporate jobs typically are. Really felt like a fraud. It wasn't the best feeling, though. I mean, the fact that I was able to leave, that was just kind of like my light at the end of the tunnel. All this to say, 2 weeks is not mandatory. Do what feels right for you. For this last job, I gave 10 days, and for the job before that, I think it was 2 because I was just not at a great point mentally. But to me, that's just kind of a sign that I'm progressing and sticking more to my guns, and protecting my peace, because that's what we all should be doing, honestly. Because at the end of the day, if companies can let go of people with giving them 0 seconds of notice, why can't you? Shouldn't be a double standard. The next thing to prepare for is the exit interview. Similar points to how much notice you want to give. How you present yourself, what you want to talk about during your exit interview is entirely up to you. Or you can choose to skip it altogether. When I was Googling or YouTubing, what am I supposed to say during an exit interview when I want to be honest but also professional at the same time, I actually came across a lot of videos saying that I shouldn't go to it anyways, that companies are basically just trying to get as much dirt on you as they can if they need it. It has 0 benefit to you and all the benefit to them if they actually end up doing anything with that data or that information. And in the very least, it causes you to relive all of the trauma that made you want to leave in the first place. So I decided to decline my exit interview. It took a lot of fighting my people-pleasing tendencies, and I meant to send a very nice note with my decline to the HR manager, but accidentally sent through without any note. And she had declined the meeting with high importance. And that gave me a little bit of anxiety. But at the end of the day, nothing bad happened. And I would say I left amicably. And I'm sure my company, my old company, is doing just fine, just peachy. On those notes, though, I do want to say that it is a balancing act of prioritizing your peace, but bowing out gracefully at the same time. Because although before leaving your job, there are customary things that you need to do, if you just feel like that it's not worth your peace and that it'll just cause you more stress, don't do it. But also try your best not to be a dick to your coworkers or the company you're leaving either. And then once you share this news with the other people in your life, you will have a wide variety of reactions to this. Some people will say congrats, some people will ask what will you do next, some people will say, oh, you should have just been shitty at your job, and then have them fire you so that you would get some severance, which can cause a lot of self-doubt in an already pretty freshly uncertain time. So here's what I have to say for you to maintain your peace during this period of potential self-doubt. Have a short and sweet response. Prepare for opinions. But remember, at the day, you were not put on this earth to make other people comfortable with the choices that you make in your life. And another mindset you could adopt is that, maybe these people in your life, your friends, family, whoever it is, maybe just have your best interests at heart and want you to consider all the options, that they don't really mean any harm. So after taking all of these steps myself, I am now happily unemployed. For the most part, I still have a part-time job, very, very part-time. All the worries about whether or not things will work out are mostly gone. I won't lie, I'm still trying to figure part of it out because aren't we all? But overall, I'm in a much better place mentally. I have the space and the capacity to think and game plan about what will bring me more fulfillment in life. I'm paying a better attention to my health, having a better diet, not eating out as much because really I can't afford to. Getting back to a regular workout routine, and honestly, things are looking up. So if you're in a similar boat, just remember there's more to life than living to work until you die. That's literally what I wrote. But here's my piece of encouragement. If you are hesitant to try something new, you never know if you're gonna like it until you try it. And the fact that you're even like considering or maybe starting to plan those initial steps of getting you somewhere different, something more fulfilling in life, just shows how amazing and brave you are. Because it's so much easier to just stay in what's comfortable and safe. And sure, giving up a steady income and dipping into your savings, which is what I'm doing, doesn't feel like the most conventional thing to do. But I encourage you to think of this as an investment in yourself.